Welcome to Gunpowder, Fiction and Plot. We're Scott Nelle.
This is episode 2 in our Read Around the World series, and today we're doing Scotland.
Scotland's one of my favourite countries.
I haven't been there yet, but I like Jean.
I went to Scotland. I like one booktuber in Scotland.
I like Scotch.
I went to Scotland about a decade ago for a week and I got 4 days of sunshine, and apparently I should have bought a lottery ticket.
Well, today we're going to talk about Scottish authors and Scottish books.
We'll start with a classic, shall we?
Yeah.
One of the most famous Scottish classics writers is Walter Scott. He is a writer of historical fictions and chivalric style adventure books.
Yeah.
Really. And his book Waverley is one of his most famous works, and it is a story of the Jacobite rebellion. And it's really interesting to get a Scots view on the Jacobite rebellion as opposed to the English views on the Jacobite rebellion. I believe that Walter Scott might have been a bit of a neutralised Scot.
Oh, so a bit of a turncoat.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah, this is actually mentioned as being one of the more Scottish books. Next recommendation I have is called Buddha Da, and one of the reasons that this is a recommendation is because it's written entirely in Scots. What is Scots, Scott?
It's a name. It's a nationality of people. Scots is a dialect of exterminate. A dialect of English. It's essentially, if you hear Scottish people talking, they'll say words that
kind of sound phonetically like other words.
They've had a chance to evolve their language and be a bit insular, and this is how English could have sounded if it
had different evolution.
And that is essentially, if you go around the UK or the US, different sayings and different words don't actually...
Different accents, but this is well more than an accent. This is actually a dialect.
But at some point that drifts further away and becomes a dialect. And then if it drifts even further away, it becomes its own distinct language. But as an English speaker, you could be expected to understand Scots.
Yes.
But it will be something that you have to...
get in the rhythm of.
But anybody who speaks Scots can understand English pretty well, so it's like colonialism.
Yeah. So, Buddha Da is about a painter decorator and a Buddhist monk walk into a bar, and and it's not a joke; it's a book. And then the painter decorator, his name is Jimmy, ends up going to the monastery and scoping out the meditation and getting into Buddhism. And the story is told from 3 perspectives: him, his wife, and his daughter, which is why it's called Buddha Da. And it's written entirely in Scots. Apparently it's quite an easy read and very, very Scottish. So that's pretty high on my list of books to read from Scotland, although I have already got a couple of those under my belt.
Yes. One of the books I have under my belt is one of my all-time favourite books. It is The Wasp Factory. It is The Wasp Factory by Ian Banks. Ian Banks is a prolific Scottish writer, was a prolific Scottish writer until he died. The Wasp Factory is his best known work. He wrote contemporary fiction and sci-fi, and he did them under different names. One was Ian Banks, one was, I think, Ian N. Banks if he was doing sci-fi. The Wasp Factory is the story of a 17-year-old serial killer and listening to the thoughts inside his head. And he might be crazy, but we're not sure.
I'm halfway through this book as we film this, and he's fucking batshit.
His grasp on reality is questioned.
He's a weirdo. Yeah, it's
It's dark. It's funny in a way that books are not often funny. It's funny in a way that your mum wouldn't say something was funny.
My mum certainly wouldn't.
And your grandmum would slap you for calling this book funny.
But it is.
But it is very funny.
Also a bit grim.
Very grim. Very grim.
Which brings us to the last book on our list of suggestions, which is made famous by Ewan McGregor and that movie.
That movie
That
of the same name
called Trainspotting. I read Trainspotting a number of years ago before I knew there was such a thing as Scots, and I actually think it might be written in Scots, either the whole book or just the dialogue. I'm not really sure. It's been 15 odd years since I read it, but I do remember having to sort of switch modality when picking it up.
Modality.
Yeah,
that's a good word.
Trainspotting is modern and gritty and bleak but funny. It actually sounds like, if I just describe its characteristics, it sounds very much like the Wasp Factory. Maybe
if you've read one, you'll like the other. That's a different video, but...
Yeah, I think, while being completely different books with completely different stories, they're definitely in the same sort of feel. And if you like that sort of bleak, humorous take on things, then you'll probably like it. There's lots about drugs and just modern life, if you're a bit poor. And Scottish, apparently.
Yeah.
But it seemed quite universal to me when I read it. So...
Do you know that the life expectancy in Glasgow is shorter than the life expectancy in India?
No, I didn't know that. That's bloody horrifying.
Yeah, the average life expectancy in Glasgow is something in the 40s.
Holy shit!
Yeah, it's terrible. I might actually have to look that up to make sure that I didn't make it up, but I really do believe that it is.
I wonder if that's still current too. Like, often those statistics were really true in the 80s, but they're not so true now, you know what I mean? Like, it has been...
Yeah.
We forget that the 80s and 90s were now a long time ago.
What Scottish authors / books do you really enjoy? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, have you read any of these, or what did you think? And what country would you like us to do next?
Yeah, like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell. Bye.